Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on your Wednesday morning. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Usually, Cory Curtis is in with us today. Cory is en route to the West Coast. He is doing sideline for the Titans preseason broadcast tomorrow on News 2. So he is not with us in studio. He will join us at
Thank
10:45.
goodness.
Everybody can calm down. Cory Curtis will join us for a little bit, but we're keeping Parker and him out of the same room for now. We just never know what happens when we get those two together.
That's probably smart, but I will say we did talk about Spider-Man, and I know you saw it last night. And I'm actually really excited we get to open the show with that. We had plenty of time to talk about the Titans.
Yeah.
But you saw Spider-Man last night.
Did.
Cory and I had a similar opinion. So what'd you think?
So I saw it. I kept my promise. I told you last Wednesday that I would see it before I came back in here this Wednesday, and it was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a little bit more faithful to like what you expect from a Spider-Man movie, right? Like a lot more street level.
With Punisher.
Right. All that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really good. I'd say it's right up there with my favorite ones from Tom Holland. I think No Way Home's good. I really liked Far From Home. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion.
So that was the second one with Mysterio.
Yeah, I like all four of them. I think they were all fine. But I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. And I guess is Doomsday the next Marvel movie that's coming out?
Doomsday is the next one we'll get, and then I think they're keeping it close to the vest on what they're going to do, because Secret Wars is the next Avengers. That'll be 27.
Right.
And then they're making a Black Panther 3 and a Ghost Rider with Ryan Gosling.
I've struggled to keep up with all the Marvel stuff lately. Like back when I was in like high school, college, it was like anytime a movie came out, I was going and watching it. And I think I have at least caught up on all the movies. I haven't seen them all in theaters. I've missed some of the shows, but I will say the Spider-Man one, I think that gets everybody out to the theater to go see it. And I finally got to see it. I will say having seen the Odyssey and IMAX, the big screen, it did kind of like ruin the next movie experience. I'm like, man, what is this tiny screen we're watching this movie on? But it was still very good. I enjoyed the movie, and I'm glad that I could follow through on my promise. I said I would watch it, and I realized on Monday night, I was like, crap, I still haven't seen it. So my wife and I went and saw it yesterday. So
see, I was the reverse. I didn't see the Odyssey in IMAX because I was in Illinois and they didn't have a IMAX screen close to us, or 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
But then I came back home, and opening weekend of Spider-Man, went to go see it at Opry Mills, saw it in IMAX. It was fantastic. And it was my favorite of the Tom Holland era. It's up there with my favorite Spider-Man of all time, just because I love that I'm not going to try to spoil it. Introducing the X-Men. Because I love the X-Men.
Right. That's been a big part of the latest Marvel movies, is trying to get the crossover there. Oh, wow. We got some news. The Lakers just got sold.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Breaking news on ESPN. The Lakers have been sold to a group that includes, I believe it's former Disney CEO Bob Iger. Yeah, here we go. From Ramona Shelburne. The Los Angeles Lakers are being sold to American businessman Josh Kushner and Bob Iger for a record-breaking price over $12 billion. They were involved in the expansion process in Las Vegas, but a stunning turn, they pivoted to make an aggressive offer to buy the Lakers from Mark Walder, who had purchased a controlling interest in the team from the Buss family last year. So, wow. The Lakers have been sold over $12 billion.
Are they the most expensive franchise in sports?
No. That would be the in North American sports, it's the Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
Yeah, which is funny because there was an article this morning, I want to say, about the worth of all of the NFL teams. And I want to say the Cowboys are like 15-something billion dollars, somewhere in there. So there you go. Lakers have been sold. We won't spend too much time on that. I know there's not a whole lot of need for NBA news around here, especially from Los Angeles, but some breaking news there. The Lakers sold for over $12 billion. All right, we've waited long enough. It's time to talk Titans. Joint practices out there in Santa Clara yesterday. And again, Cory Curtis, not with us in studio. He's on his way out to the West Coast because he's doing sideline for the Titans game, but we'll get his thoughts on everything later in the show when he joins us via the phone lines. First thing, fights everywhere. Robert Saleh had talked about how, hey, we only want to do one joint practice because it can devolve into chaos and you don't really get the work in that you need to. And from all reports, within the first 10 minutes of practice, there were 4 separate fights. Austin Deculus got thrown out for throwing a punch. Later on in the practice, Dan Moore got thrown out for throwing a punch. So that was the headline to start off, was that tempers flared pretty much right off the bat. And from what I saw, and again, neither of us were out there, Parker, but most of the reporting said the Niners basically just weren't pulling up, and they were hitting guys. They were taking Titans players to the ground. And of course, the Titans are going to take some issue with that. They went after them, but 2 Titans players thrown out of practice once again, both tackles, Austin Deculus, Dan Moore. And that was the way practice started out there next to the substation in Santa Clara.
So I have 2 thoughts, and the second one may be completely off base, but the first one is, I think a little bit of this was almost pre-planned, because I think it was Cam Ward who was talking about it in his post-practice presser, talking about how Cedric Gray, the 49ers had stuff that they wanted to get off their chest. The Titans have stuff they wanted to get off their chest. And it's the first time that either of these teams have seen another team other than themselves this offseason. So I think that contributes to it, obviously. And 2, again, this may be completely off base, but I wonder how much of this behavior has kind of been encouraged by Robert Saleh, talking about, we want to talk our what, we want to be fast and violent. It seems like there have been a lot more fights with the Titans specifically, and really just around the NFL, because it doesn't matter if you have ESPN on NFL Network, they're always talking about a different training camp fight. But with the Titans, there are more fights this offseason than I remember in previous years.
Yeah, and again, maybe we talk about it with all the big injuries too, that maybe it's just recency bias, and every year we say, oh, look at all the injuries or look at all the fights. But I do think that we've seen more pushing and shoving, at least in Titans practices, than we've seen. And we'll talk about this a little bit in the next segment of Robert Saleh saying he wants his team to toe the line of violence. And I just wonder if maybe they're going a little too far over the line. Although, again, most of the reports coming out yesterday said it was the 49ers who were instigating and they were playing a little bit more physical, and the Titans took some issue with it. Overall, the reports yesterday, it was not a good day for the Titans. Early on, I think there was a decent amount of plays being made by the Titans offense, but with some of the pushing and shoving, maybe things got thrown off and Dan Moore gets thrown out of practice. And later on in practice, all of the reports basically for the final 30 minutes of team periods was Niners offense is carving up the Titans defense, and the Titans offense has Cam Ward under constant pressure. He can't make throws. He threw a pick. And again, I don't think it was completely horrible. Like I looked at the notes from Jim Wyatt, and I think Cam Ward did make some plays, but overall the overwhelming sentiment is that the 49ers won the day. And I wonder if this can be a wake-up call for the Titans. I've seen Titans fans over the past week just riding the wave of training camp, of, living and dying with every practice rep of, if Cam Ward hits Carnell Tate for a touchdown, the Titans are going to the Super Bowl. And after yesterday, what plans are we going to make for Sunday afternoons? Because there's no reason to watch the Titans. If you ride the wave with every single practice and every single rep, you're probably not going to have too much fun making it through the season. It is still August. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, it's practice. And we're going to see how all of this accumulates and builds to get to the regular season. But overall, yesterday, Parker, it seems like it was a bad day for the Titans out there in Santa Clara.
There was a bit of momentum that the offense created for themselves last week. Yesterday, I don't think did anything to necessarily hurt it, but it definitely didn't help it either. So it was not a good day. Let's just call it what it is. I think Cam Ward had a pretty modest day. Saw that, I think it was Nick Suss that recorded that he had an interception. And Connor and I were actually talking about this yesterday on the 6. This was after Dan Moore was kicked out of practice.
Yeah, it was the next play after Dan Moore got thrown out.
So it was Austin Deculus, who I've watched Austin Deculus.
Austin Deculus had been thrown out too.
I struggle to believe he'd make a 53 roster on any other team in the league. Well, he is not good.
He had already been thrown out of practice too. So he was gone. It was Crenshaw Dixon.
So you got a third string left tackle protecting the blind side of the quarterback. Internally, I think that speeds up the clock for Cam Ward. So he's trying to get the ball out quicker, which may force him to make a mistake, which happened. Again, that's speculation. I wasn't out there.
Yeah.
But that's what I think could have contributed to that interception.
Yeah, and I heard Nick Suss on with Robbie and Joe talking about how early on, it seemed like the offensive line held up decently. Cam Ward had some time back there, but then towards the end of practice, once Dan Moore was out, it was pretty constant pressure. And overall, not a good day for the Titans. But again, it's one day. I think it's a wake-up call, and it's a good measuring stick of Robert Saleh can look back at his team and say, all right, yeah, we thought we had made some strides throughout training camp, and maybe we have. But we're still not at that level with that type of team who expects to be a playoff team. So heading forward to next week, when you get the Super Bowl champions in town, you're going to know what you have to work on. You're going to know what you need to do in order to start to improve towards that level. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, let's go to the phone lines. Dustin in Hopkinsville is called in. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I was listening this morning, and a lot of fans are saying, oh, give it time and all that. And they didn't use the words trust the process, but that's what I'm hearing. And every time I trust the process, one time they got it right with Vrabel, and then he started doing some off-the-field things, and I think that contributed to our losses, but who knows. And then they got rid of him, and here we are again in football purgatory. Now, I do think Saleh is the savior for us. I do think that we got a great OC, and I do think Cam Ward is developing. But the two, if you're going to get things off your chest, the two guys that need to get things off their chest on the field and stay on the field are the two that got kicked out, in the first part of practice? Come on, dude. Like, Mandor is your nickname. So why don't you keep the door on the field and try to close it? It's, punch each other in the mouth. If they're not pulling up, you don't pull up. Eye for an eye. It's in the Bible. All right. Now, the thing about the Titans have been practicing against the Titans, and I wanted a good weapon for Ward, and I still love Tate, but you got to realize we're going up against our own. I'm pretty excited about Flott and Taylor. I am. But they're not like going to be the best in the league. I feel like they're going to be solid, a bend don't break kind of defense in the secondary. All right, and they're still pretty young, and they're practicing each other. Well, if we still stink, if the Browns are practicing themselves and one side of the ball looks way better than the other, that don't mean a dang thing. You cannot gauge anything, in my opinion, till after you get the cobwebs off. After halftime of the first regular season game, you're not going to get enough momentum playing these preseason games. And this preseason, everybody's already said it is the Will Levis show. They're trying to get stopped to trade him, but I don't know. I'm not going to get excited till the Titans show me something different on a consistent basis, and that's where I stand. We have a right to be, I don't know,
skeptical,
optimistic.
You're going the opposite. Okay,
skeptically optimistic, but we trust the process. Y'all can take that, put it in the mailbox, burn it, send it to somebody else, because I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dustin. Appreciate it. Joe said this at the end of Robbie and Rexro too, of we wait all summer for this month of training camp and preseason. And then once you get into it, you just can't wait for it to be over, because it is, you can't ride the roller coaster. You can't get into the seat and let each practice take you wherever it's going to take you. Friday and Sunday, everybody's talking about how great this Titans team might be. And Cam Ward is taking these huge steps, and Carnell Tate's going to be a superstar. It's practice. And then yesterday, I saw a whole bunch of, I think it was 49ers people saying Dejon Stribling looks like he's going to be way better than Carnell Tate. And the Titans couldn't stop anything. And Cam Ward was under pressure all day and wasn't very accurate. it's also practice. Like, yes, there are things that are important from these practices that you're going to build off leading to the regular season, but you can't live and die by the results of practice every single day. And let's see, in a couple of weeks, we're going to get closer and closer to games. The progress isn't going to be linear. There's going to be steps forward. There's going to be steps backward. It's all about gearing up and being ready to go when the regular season starts. And just like Dustin said, I think once you get past halftime of week one, that's when it's like, all right, you're into the real stuff here, and this team is ready to go for actual live football action. It's practice. Let's, again, not ignore it, but also not live and die by every single rep that happens in August. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to react to yesterday. I want to get into some of the discipline stuff with the fighting and some of the penalties, because I know that was an issue yesterday. Lots of pre-snap penalties as well. We'll get into that and get ready for the preseason game tomorrow. It seems like the starters are going to play a decent amount. How long should they play? What do we expect to see from the Titans tomorrow in their preseason opener? Off and running on this Wednesday morning. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Titans joint practice yesterday in San Francisco, and they will play the 49ers tomorrow in the preseason opener, 8 o'clock Central Time kickoff. Excited for that, to see what the Titans look like for the first time in the preseason this year. Joint practice yesterday, overwhelming sentiment was the Titans lost the day. And 3337 says, so you mean the team with maybe the best head coach in the NFL and one of the best teams for the past decade beat our first-year offense and defense? Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's not as simple as that, right? Like, you want to see your team be competitive. And I think at times the Titans were competitive yesterday based on the reports, but it shouldn't be shocking that the Titans did not win the day yesterday. And we'll get into Robert Saleh's comments about the defense too later in the show, because I do think that I wasn't a huge fan of him saying basically like, oh, Shanahan knows this defense. Shouldn't you know the offense too? But we'll get to that later. I wanted to get to some of the discipline stuff. And last week, after Big Jeff got thrown out of practice for throwing a punch, Robert Saleh said, you know, he wants this team to toe the line of violence, and you want to be pests, and you want to be the instigators, and you want to be the team that's drawing the unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on the other team. But you also have to make sure you're not getting them on yourselves. And so I do think that is a great way to play the game. You want to be the instigators. You want to be that team that no one else wants to play. They want to see the Titans on their schedule and be like, man, I don't want to play that team. And I understand that. But it does seem like the Titans are maybe crossing the line a little bit too much. And this isn't just in terms of throwing punches in practice, but you're getting pre-snap penalties. And I think that Robert Saleh did a nice job last week after some scuffles early on where Jeff gets thrown out, of bringing the team together and settling things down. You didn't see many issues the rest of that practice. But you have to make sure you're keeping the team aggressive, but not letting them leak into reckless. Because for a team like this that's trying to learn how to win and trying to get out of the cellar of the NFL, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself and have self-inflicted issues. And penalties are one of the easiest ways to beat yourself. So far, again, not a major concern. It's still August 12th, but that is something I've noticed is the aggressive nature with which Robert Saleh wants to play with going to lead to some reckless penalties that end up having the Titans shoot themselves in the foot.
And it's okay to have fights like this every now and again. I understand that happens, right? I played football. I understand. Like, things boil over naturally when you have a bunch of men out there, testosterone's running wild. Like, I get it. At the same time, too, you want to be smart, you know? Keep the fights in between, you know, the whistle. I don't think that's too much to ask. It seems like you had your fights and okay, yeah, that happens. Obviously, you don't want fights to happen. You don't want any players throwing punches. You certainly don't want your best player throwing punches because you don't want him to break his hand on a face mask being an idiot. But it seems like it's starting to just get over the top now. It's getting redundant.
Yeah, and there again, as Robert said, there's a difference between being pests and being instigators and throwing punches. Like, Austin Deculus swung on a 49ers defender and then spiked him on the ground during team period, getting kicked out of practice. I get Austin Deculus probably isn't going to be one of your starting players, but it's like, man, you can't have that. And then Dan Moore, especially your left tackle, he can't get thrown out of practice. He can't get thrown out of games. I think there needs to be a line between aggression and recklessness. And I do think so far, again, in practice, we've seen it leak too far into the other side. And again, this isn't just throwing punches after the whistle, because I know that it's different when you're in a practice environment versus a game environment. You see these tempers flare more often when you're together going rep after rep after rep and it's hot out. It's going to happen more often in training camp, but it's also like, you want to be an attacking style defense. I saw a lot of reports yesterday that the Titans got a whole lot of penalties, defensive pass interference, offsides, like aggressiveness. Great. But it can't hurt you to be that aggressive. And I wonder if this is one of those teaching moments for Robert Saleh, because it's good that this is happening a month before your first game, that Robert Saleh can teach, okay, yes, we want to play with that mentality, but you also can't hurt the team. And I think there's been too many moments so far in training camp where the aggression would hurt the team.
Exactly. That's right. Even if Austin Deculus isn't good, and Brandon Crenshaw Dixon it's not ideal that he's going to be your, or at least rotating at that swing tackle spot. You still need him, because what else do you have? So you got to be smart, because at some point you're going to have to rely on depth. When you're getting into the season, it's November, December, even early January. Like, you're going to need your guys to it just happens, right? Injuries happen in the NFL. You get banged up, you get bruised, all that sort of thing. You never finish the season 100%. You're going to rely on that depth. And if you're not available, well, what purpose, what use do you serve to the team?
Right. And we've seen a lot of scuffles and skirmishes and all the words you want to use for these. I haven't seen any brawls, at least in the practices I've been out in, where it's like full team clearing the benches. It seemed like it got very feisty early on in Santa Clara yesterday. It's going to happen, but this needs to be a learning experience for Robert Saleh to teach his team where the line is. He says toe the line of violence. You need to find where that line is so you know you're not crossing it, which I think they've done a little too much so far. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone and text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com, 615-737-1025. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. More Titans after this. Let's talk Cam Ward. Yesterday, seemed like there were some good moments, especially early on in practice, but seemed like the performance decreased throughout the day in Santa Clara. We'll talk about that, what we want to see tomorrow as he plays in his first preseason game of year 2. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on Indianapolis at First Horizon Park. First pitch is at 6:35, and you can catch all of the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Again, no Cory today. He is traveling out for the Titans preseason opener tomorrow in San Francisco, but he will join us at 10:45 to give his thoughts on the Titans, the joint practice yesterday, and much more. Let's go to our phone lines right now, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey has called in. Trey, good morning. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Trey,
Good morning.
what's up?
I'm well, man. I'm just, having an earthquake over there where she lives,
Oh,
man.
no.
A lot of people died over in Colombia, Medellin. I go over there and get my dental work done. So I'm a little bit sad today. So I want the Titans win tomorrow.
Well, I hope she's okay with the earthquake and everything.
Yeah, she's fine. It's just, everything over there is center block and concrete. So any little whip of the wind, something going down, you know. So, it's kind of bad, but, it's God got his hand on everything. So I think everything's going to be all right. I want to go over there and help out, So I'm planning a trip over there to go and help out. So.
Well, that's good to hear. Glad that she's doing well. And you said you want a Titans win tomorrow. I know you're big on these preseason games.
Oh, hey, because I'm big on the preseason games because those are foundational games. Those are the games that you could tell who's learning and who's not learning. Who's good at what, who's good at that. So, it's for me to see, those developmental plays in those first four games really says a lot for me, only my opinion on the way the team is progressing or regressing. And honestly, fellas, I believe that we have a good shot of winning the South because the quarterback in Houston is on a regression. I don't know what they have over in Indianapolis. And Trevor Lawrence he flip-flops. Sometimes he does well. And Cam is on a progression level right now. That's what I'm saying. We had bottom tier level numbers last year, those are his average numbers right now. So anything above what he does right now is a progression. I think he can progress if our receivers catch the ball. They need to catch the ball. The running back needs to stop fumbling the ball, And I think Cam, if he learns from Coach Saleh, which I think Coach Saleh is an excellent coach. I've been following him a long time. And I pray that he come to the Titans. And y'all told me that he probably wouldn't come to the Titans. But he's here. But he's here now. So I praise it, man. I think he's going to do well for us. And I love y'all, and y'all have a good day. And pray for my people over in Columbia.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for the call, Trey. He last year the Bucs game week 1 was a must win, and he says they're foundational games. I mean, Brian Callahan won 5 preseason games over 2 years. He won
3-0 2 years ago.
He won 4 regular season games.
No.
They went 3-0 2 years ago and 2-1 last year.
Was it 2 years ago?
I think so, yeah.
Because that's when Malik Willis was traded to the Packers.
Yeah,
because he was there for 2 years.
I'm pretty sure that they went 5-1 in preseason games, and he went.
Yeah, no, you're right. 3-0 in his first season.
Regular season.
We're like,
games.
oh baby, here we go, the Brian Callahan era.
Well, we are keeping Trey's Colombian friends in our thoughts and prayers. Who knew that Trey went and found himself a girl on his dental expedition?
Hey, when you're a ladies' man like Trey, it's
true.
Not hard to get a girlfriend. You can get a girlfriend anywhere you go, right?
Trey's got game. He really does.
Trey's got game. That's for sure.
We appreciate the call from Trey. And he's talking about Cam Ward, his development. Yesterday, it seemed to be an up and down day. I did see early on that he made some plays, hit Wan'Dale Robinson down the field. He did have a couple of touchdowns on the day, but it seemed like the performance declined as practice went on. A couple of bad misses to Carnell Tate. Calvin Ridley had the interception that the Niners reporters were saying would have been a pick six. So up and down day, which is disappointing after how strong he finished last week in the scrimmage on Friday and then practice on Sunday. But as I said, with the team as a whole, progress isn't going to be linear for Cam Ward. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. You just want to see overall him doing more of the things that he's being coached to do. And one thing I did hear out of practice yesterday is that he was taking his check down still. And that's something that we've been harping on, is just taking what the defense gives you. It seems like early on in practice, he found a rhythm just taking what was in front of him. So that's good. Again, not his best day yesterday, but progress not going to be in a straight line. Let's see how Thursday goes. Tomorrow night, Robert Saleh said the starters are going to play more than just a series, so we should get a decent sample size of Cam Ward tomorrow. And he's going to be playing against mostly the 49ers backups. Kyle Shanahan said that they're not going to play a ton of starters. So this is an opportunity for Cam to go out there and make some plays tomorrow night and get some confidence heading back here to Nashville for next week against Seattle.
Progress for quarterbacks is not linear. I think it takes the most time of any position. I mean, you see stories all the time. Not everybody is going to be Mahomes, who takes the league by storm his first year as a starter. You're going to have stories like Sam Darnold, who started his career in New York, ended up bouncing around a few different teams, won a Super Bowl last year with the Seahawks. And the most recent example, J.J. McCarthy, former top 10 pick, getting benched in favor of Kyler Murray. So Cam Ward has taken steps in the right direction, absolutely, this offseason, but there are still going to be ups and downs. This dude is still in it. I mean, he hasn't even played 2 years in the NFL yet. So, yeah, there are things that you've seen that have encouraged. I thought last week was very encouraging, but yesterday, okay, we're back down to earth a little bit. So, and that's okay. These sort of things happen. QB progression's not linear.
I think the reaction to Cam Ward, whether it's good or bad, over the last week, we saw Friday and Sunday, he was the franchise savior. Yesterday, people are out on him again. The reaction shows you how important week one is going to be just for the general sentiment around Cam Ward and this Titans team. I mean, we had, I think it was 4312. Yeah, 4312 said, I'm waiting until the Jets game week one. We win and I'll be all in for this season. We lose, I'm not wasting any more time on the Titans this year. I really do think that week one game, again, not a must win. It's still just one win in the, or one game in the win column, one game in the loss column. But I really do think that the sentiment around the Titans as a whole and Cam Ward as a quarterback really could go polar opposite ends of the spectrum just based on how week one goes. If the Titans win by 2 touchdowns and Cam Ward throws 3 touchdowns and doesn't turn the ball over, they're going to throw a parade on Broadway for starting the season 1-0. But if he throws 2 picks and the Titans lose to the Jets, people are going to check out and immediately go into, all right, well, he's not the guy. Again, not a must win in terms of the record books, but in terms of the sentiment around this team and the feeling among the fan base about the quarterback and the team as a whole, man, you got to win week one. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to text or call. Keep up with training camp with 1025 The Game for the latest updates, player interviews, and more as we get you prepped for the upcoming football season. Coverage of Titans training camp is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, Permanent Energy, and the Music City kickoff game. We'll wrap up the first hour, a couple other news and notes from yesterday's joint practice, and we'll get into some college football in the 10 a.m. hour. ESPN ranked the biggest supervillains of all time in college football. There is a former volunteer on this list, or an honorable mention on the list, also a former Commodore who is mentioned on this list, and some strange ones. So we'll get into that at 10 a.m. And Cory Curtis, again, will join us in his travels out to the West Coast coming up at 10:45. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Titans out at joint practice with the 49ers yesterday. Things didn't go all that well. It seemed like outside of a couple of moments here and there, the 49ers won the day in a big way. But training camp continues on. Preseason opener tomorrow. Still a long way to go. A month from tomorrow, the opener against the Jets. Other news and notes from joint practice. How about Joey Sly with a bounce back day? We were talking on Monday about Young Hui Koo coming in to possibly try out for the Titans, a couple other names. And I want to say the Titans actually did work out another kicker yesterday. Josh Carty worked out for the Titans yesterday out in San Francisco. Yeah, so they're clearly not sold on Joey Sly being their kicker for week one, but I do think that yesterday, a step in the right direction. He went 7 for 7 in the joint practice against the 49ers yesterday.
That's what you need. A really poor scrimmage performance from him. 1 of 3, missed short on 52, missed from 48. That's the bounce back you need. And it could be too that the front office is trying to get him going a little bit by bringing in these guys to kick. So Joey Sly is aware of that, hey, if you don't step it up, we're going to bring in somebody else to kick. And he responded in the right way. Going for 7 to 7, you honestly can't do much better.
Right. You want to see your kicker make every kick he goes out there to take. And yesterday went 7 for 7. The pressure was on for Joey Sly with the Titans at least dipping their toes in the free agent kicker waters yesterday, maybe holding on to his job for a little bit longer. And we'll see how he does tomorrow night in the preseason game. The substation, it didn't have a big impact yesterday, but I will say it claimed some victims. Jacob Martin dealing with, I believe they said hamstring tightness for Jacob Martin. I'll have to look up exactly what he said, but Jacob Martin, Cordell Flott, both were limited yesterday. And likely not going to play tomorrow. Knee injury for Jacob Martin, and Cordell Flott was limited with a bruise. So we will have to see how they look. John Franklin Myers hopefully back next week. But overall, in terms of the way it could have gone practicing next to the substation, and as TD reported, the field closest to the substation, the Titans stayed relatively healthy yesterday.
That seems like it was on purpose. The opposing team playing closest to the substation there. See, I still don't think I'm buying into the theory, but it is peculiar. I will say that.
I do think that the correlation does not equal causation. That was something that New York Doug and I agreed on yesterday on the show, Parker. You weren't in here, but he texted in and said correlation does not equal causation with the electrical substation. And I agree with that. But it was funny with all of the noise around the substation that the Niners put the Titans on the field closest to it. And I'm sure it wasn't on purpose, but again, when this has been the biggest story around the 49ers over the past few weeks with all the injuries they've been dealing with, you knew that was going to get out there and it was going to be laughed at a little bit, that they're like, yeah, we're not worried about it, but we're going to let you practice closer to it just to be safe.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But Saleh, being asked about it on Friday, basically denied it, but said, hey, it's good for the fans to talk about. So it does seem like the 49ers are getting players back slowly, but these soft tissue injuries.
Yeah, they got Mike Evans back yesterday.
They did.
At least limited. I don't know how much he did in team drills, but they did say he was back out on the field. But yeah, missing a lot of guys. Nick Bosa, they said he's dealing with some tendonitis as he works his way back from the ACL injury. So yeah, the substation continues to strike. 9194 says maybe it was the substation that caused the fights. Yeah, maybe the electromagnetic waves was just causing some anger.
Got these guys extra fired up. Extra feisty yesterday.
Yeah, the fights and stuff, like I do think that the Niners caused most of them. So when I talk about the discipline earlier this hour about Robert Saleh and making sure that you're not getting stupid penalties, that's less about specifically the fights yesterday, more about there was pass interference called, and you have guys who are taking it too far when the fights do break out. with Deculus saying he threw a punch and then like body slammed someone to the turf. Like, you can't have that. But I do think yesterday, based on the reporting, it was the Niners came out and said, we're going to be the more physical team. We're going to punch you in the mouth and see how you react. And clearly it led to a lot of tempers flaring. I saw the first tweet I saw. I got off my phone for a little bit. I guess team drill started around like 1 o'clock Central Time. So I was off my phone. I was prepping for the show and I got back onto Twitter and I started scrolling through. And I just saw tweet after tweet of separate fights. It wasn't everybody reporting the same fight. It was Carnell Tate got hit and the bench is cleared. And then somebody got too close to Cam Ward and the bench is cleared. It's like 4 fights in 10 minutes.
How many tweets
crazy.
did I see yesterday of the benches clearing?
I have no idea.
Because it seemed like every time I got on Twitter, it was a different person who was out there saying the bench is cleared. The bench is cleared. I'm like, well, how many times did they clear?
Yeah, it happened way more often than it should have. But again, it's going to happen. It's going to be hot. It's just about not taking it too far. And I do think that the Titans took it too far, having Deculus and Moore both thrown out. But I guess it's nice that they're only doing one, because if that was how physical and how fiery the first joint practice was, I can only imagine what it would have been like if the Titans and Niners said, let's run it back today and do it again. I would think that they would get almost nothing done based on what went on yesterday.
Yeah, and two, I wanted to go back to something that I think it was a caller or texter said earlier in the show. Did you really expect the Titans to be on par with the San Francisco 49ers? I get they have a lot of injuries. I get all that, but they're still regarded as one of the better teams in the NFL despite the injuries, because Kyle Shanahan is so good at game planning week to week that he can mask a lot of the injuries and can still find ways to hide weaknesses. The Titans, sure, you can say that the floor of the roster has been elevated, but did you really expect them to be on par with the San Francisco 49ers in year one?
Yeah, that's what we like to look at this and say the Titans are going to get tested with the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Bears, and say this is going to be good opportunities for them to go up against good teams and see where they stack up. And I think you would have hoped to see the Titans do a little bit better yesterday and have a little bit more success. But you're right. When we talk about them being challenged, you can't get upset when they do get challenged and fail. I want to go back to this quickly, because I think this was the stupidest thing that came out of yesterday's practice. Was the Deshaun Stribling and Carnell Tate were both out there. Tate was picked 4th. Stribling was picked 33rd, and Stribling outplayed Carnell Tate. I saw this from at least 2 49ers beat writers. And this is like when you talk about quarterback matchups and saying like, oh, well, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes going head to head. Well, they're not. They're not facing each other. Deshaun Stribling and Carnell Tate were not facing each other. Deshaun Stribling was facing the Titans, and Carnell Tate was facing the 49ers secondary. I thought that was the stupidest thing that came out of this yesterday. It's one practice where they're not squaring off against each other. Brock Purdy is a much more experienced quarterback than Cam Ward. I thought that was funny, of people making these sweeping declarations about 2 rookies before they've even taken one real snap in the NFL. Like I saw somebody say that Stribling is going to end up being the top wide receiver out of this draft class. I'm like, guys, it's August of their rookie season. Let's just
talk about an overreaction. Good gosh. I mean, Cam Ward, Nick Suss said that there were 10 consecutive plays yesterday where Cam Ward was just under complete and total duress. So if Carnell Tate is relying on Cam Ward to get him the ball, but Cam Ward's constantly under duress. And then you flip to the other side, the San Francisco 49ers, you take away Trent Williams, and that offensive line's very average, but still, who's protecting his blind side? Trent Williams. And he's old, but he's still really good. So that's just stupid. That's just stupid.
That was the worst thing that I saw come out of this, of like, let's compare rookie wide receivers in a joint practice and say that Stribling, and to be fair, Stribling, I guess, could be the best wide receiver out of this draft class, but no one's going to make that decision based off of one practice in August where they're not facing each other. They were on different fields. And I don't know how these these beat writers are making these calls when they're practicing simultaneously. How are you watching in-depth dribbling and watching Tate in depth too? It makes no sense. Anyway, those are some other news and notes from joint practice. We'll get back into joint practice later on in the show as well. Cory Curtis going to join us at 10:45 as he makes his way out to the West Coast to get ready for the preseason game. Coming up next, though, we will get into some college football. We are a little over 2 weeks away from week 0. And I saw this list over the weekend of the biggest supervillains of all time in college football. And I think Ryan McGee made this list, by the way, who I love Ryan McGee, Marty and McGee, one of the better shows that you'll find on ESPN. And I like some of it. I also think some of the choices on here were very strange. And again, there is a Vandy player and a Vols coach who are both mentioned in this article. We'll get into all of that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game, second hour on this Wednesday morning. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talked a lot of Titans in the first hour. Cory Curtis going to join us at 10:45. We'll get back into the two-tone blue as they get ready for their preseason opener tomorrow night in Santa Clara against the San Francisco 49ers. But did want to hit some college football. Before we get into the supervillains, Parker, I saw you just posted your college football playoff predictions. I'm looking through it. You've got 4 SEC teams making it, 4 Big Ten teams, and then one of each. You got Notre Dame, Miami out of the ACC, Texas Tech out of the Big 12, and then Boise State is your group of 5 team. I like it. You got Ole Miss in, you got LSU in, USC is in. So it's a pretty good group, and you got Notre Dame winning the whole thing.
I do. I'm really high on Notre Dame this year. Remember, people, this is 1.0. I'm coming out with 2.0 in a few weeks.
Okay.
Or, probably the week leading into week 0.
Reserve the right to change it.
So I reserve the right to be wrong. I reserve the right to change my mind, but feel pretty good at least about the top 9.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of these matchups. These would be fun. I mean, Oregon, LSU in the first round, Notre Dame, Oregon in the second round. You get a rematch of Miami and Georgia in the quarterfinals. And then your semis, Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, with Notre Dame beating Ohio State in the championship. So there you go.
Could you imagine Lincoln Riley and USC traveling to Athens, Georgia for a round 1 game?
That would be awesome.
And Lane Kiffin going out to Eugene, Oregon. Those matchups, you can't make that up.
No, that would be a ton of fun. And make sure you are out of the show, Parker.
It's crazy how I'm very pleasantly surprised with how the show's done. So we just got to keep making it bigger and better.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
Having a lot of fun.
There you go. It's been fun to watch. Let's get into these supervillains. So Ryan McGee of ESPN put this out there last week of the greatest supervillains of all time in college football. And if you've got any thoughts on who you would put on this list, text or call 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Who do you think number 1 would be? Have you seen? You've seen the grid here, Parker, I'm sure.
Yeah, I actually reacted to this yesterday.
Okay,
so I've seen the whole list.
Okay,
yeah, I've seen the whole list.
All right, so Steve Spurrier, number 1. So Lane Kiffin's number 2. Ryan McGee puts the head ball coach walks so the lane train could run. If you are a young college football fan, then the Spur you know is the folksy grandpa telling jokes at celebrity golf tournaments and touchdown club meetings. Back in the day, the head ball coach was the visor, a hat-slinging, trash-talking, strut-walking winning machine who tossed the ball all over the yard as both a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and a national championship winning coach. And after humiliating you on the field, he would pour verbal salt into your wounds. So Steve Spurrier listed as the number 1 supervillain in college football history. Your thoughts on that, Parker?
I'm surprised because I thought Lane Kiffin would be number 1, but he's number 2. I don't hate Steve Spurrier being at number 1 because I know locally a lot of Tennessee fans hate Steve Spurrier for his comments he made in the 90s about you can't spell citrus without UT.
Yeah.
It used to be the 3rd place game. So that was a dig at Tennessee and just the rivalry between Florida and Tennessee. It makes sense. Nobody talked trash like Steve Spurrier back in the day.
Yeah, I don't think any Tennessee fans would disagree with Steve Spurrier being the number 1 on this list or Lane Kiffin being number 2. I mean, how about it? The top two college football villains of all time, both being pretty much Tennessee's 2 biggest villains of all time. Would you say so? Is there anybody else who would top that list for the Vols over Spurrier and Kiffin?
No, I think they got it right. I love Ryan McGee. I thought he did a great job with this list, but there are definitely some things I'll change as we go throughout this thing.
Yeah, so Johnny Manziel is number 3. And I do think when you talk about some of the most polarizing players in college football history, Johnny Manziel has to be at the top. I mean, I loved Johnny Football. I loved watching him play, but the arrogance, the brashness, the off the field stuff, like I do think that Johnny Football deserves to be on this list as one of the biggest villains because there were a lot of people who really just did not like him. And you can see where that took him in his career. The Untold documentary about him, I thought, was really good about, everything that was going on behind the scenes while he was in College Station. And of course, everything that happened once he got to the NFL. Johnny Manziel was so much fun to watch, but I do think that there was a large villain aspect to his career as well.
Just the way, after winning the Heisman Trophy, going clubbing, that sort of thing, he made money off autographs before it was legal, that sort of thing. Yeah, I have no problem with the top three. I honestly don't really have much of an issue with the top five.
Yeah, the top five, I think, are pretty obvious ones. Brian Bosworth, the Boz, I think another one of those guys who was just polarizing. There were so many things that you wanted to love him for. And I think looking back now at Brian Bosworth, he has kind of turned into somebody that everybody liked. And again, I wasn't around back when he was playing college football, but obviously having heard the stories, you know why he was disliked.
I mean, there are documentaries about him. Most people our age know him as the sheriff of Fansville.
I know.
But I mean, he had a mohawk, wore a do-rag, had lettering on his shirt.
He had the neck roll.
Attacking the NCAA, that sort of thing. Yeah, it makes sense why he's on here.
Yeah, his T-shirt, National Communists Against Athletes, and Welcome to Russia.
Russia.
I mean,
that stuff would probably be accepted nowadays.
Right. I think people might celebrate it now, but back in the 80s, that definitely didn't fly quite as much. And then number five, I think you're right. 1990 Miami Hurricanes. I mean, the U back in the day, that was...
You had to have one Miami team on here.
Right.
You had to.
And they embraced being the villains. I mean, one of my favorite 30 for 30s is the Catholics versus Convicts, one that walk through the matchups between Miami and Notre Dame. Those Miami teams, again, all of these guys, villains partially because of how good they were, right? You can't become a villain unless you are successful. So Spurrier, Kiffin, the Boz, the Hurricanes, like all of them, Manziel, all of them have been successful, but they did it in a way that rubbed people the wrong way, especially some of these teams being, Bosworth back in the 80s, Miami in the 90s, where people weren't quite as accepting of coloring outside the lines, I guess would be the right way to put it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense why he was on here, but or why Miami was on there. It's literally the reason that we have 15-yard penalties for excessive celebrations is because of that Miami team.
Yep.
And the I forgot what bowl it was. It might have been the Cotton Bowl versus Texas. Set a record with 15 penalties for 202 yards for excessive celebration. That's the reason why it's a thing. So it makes sense. And they thought they had the right to deserve to play for the national championship that year and didn't.
Yeah, that is true. And you look at I'm seeing that 15 penalties, 202 yards in the Cotton Bowl, the most ever flags for unsportsmanlike conduct. Yeah, the Hurricanes back in the 90s, definitely a villain. Speaking of Catholics versus convicts, number 6 is Notre Dame, just Notre Dame in general, which I get it, right? Like they've always been on the outside of the norm in college sports, still are being independent. And I think people don't love that. And especially with the new rule in the college football playoff, Notre Dame probably does deserve to be on this list. I don't know. 6 might be a little bit high, though, for the Fighting Irish.
Well, if you think about it, they're independent. Everybody's screaming at them to join a conference. They have an independent TV deal with Peacock and NBC, which they get all of the TV revenue. Jake, let me know if you agree with this, because this is what I said on my show yesterday. If I had a college football program, I had my own team, I would want them run exactly the way Notre Dame is run. Think about it. You have 16 teams in the SEC. Let's say you're Oklahoma, for example. You have to have that TV revenue deal with ESPN, ABC split up among 16 teams.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, they get all the money from their deal with NBC and Peacock. And then being independent, they have the exception in the college football playoff. If they're within the top 12, they automatically get a spot. If we're being honest, if we injected everybody with truth serum and they had their own college football program, they'd want the privileges Notre Dame has.
You're probably right. Yeah, like you hate us because you ain't us, right? Like everybody doesn't like Notre Dame because they've taken advantage of this system where they are big enough of a brand that they can be independent and they can schedule their own games. and then they take all the TV money for themselves. Speaking quickly before we'll get to the rest of this list coming up in the next segment, what do you think of the provision in the Protect College Sports Act, which again didn't get voted on, but there's still optimism that it eventually gets done, that the 5-year probation period for leaving your conference, you don't have to do it if you leave within 180 days of the bill being signed. Like that could lead to just absolute chaos in the ACC, specifically with Clemson, Miami, and Florida State wanting to find their way out. If they know they've only got 6 months to do it, or else you got to sit that 5-year probation period, they might all be running for the hills.
That's immediately where my mind went. The ground suddenly got uneasy from Chapel Hill to Coral Gables because it's Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Georgia Tech has talked about it, North Carolina. They've all expressed interest in leaving the ACC in recent years. So that's immediately where my mind went. If you're going to do it, better do it now. That's what it sounds
right.
like.
That it's basically what it is. It's an escape hatch for these teams of if you don't do it now, you're not going to be able to do it. So we will see if that bill passes, if we see a mass exodus specifically from the ACC. Pegram's Finest on the text line asks, how does the NCAA itself not make the top 5? And that's probably a good question.
I have thoughts. They should be in here.
We can get to that coming up next. The rest of the list is really interesting. I think the top 6, you can get behind it. 7 through 10, I think is really intriguing because there are two guys on here that I was shocked that were on this list, and we'll get to it coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Talking some college football here to start hour number 2. Back to the Titans in a couple of segments. Cory Curtis going to join us at 10:45 as he makes his way out to San Francisco for tomorrow's preseason opener. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game.
Hey, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives. 30 minutes for the rest of our lives. That's how we're batting in the first half. It ain't happening. We get the ball. I promise you one thing. We're going to hit somebody, and we're taking down the field for a touchdown. I guarantee you that.
Guaranteed.
Look at me.
Let's go.
We got 30 minutes.
Let's go.
For the rest of our lives.
For the rest of our lives.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Well done, Parker. That was Tim Tebow hyping up his Florida Gators team in the national championship game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. We're going through the biggest villains in college football, the top 10 listed by Ryan McGee. And would you believe that Tim Tebow's on there at number 8?
No, I can't believe it.
See,
I was shocked.
I always viewed him as like one of the bigger, and it even says this, Tebow is the only member of this list who would also be included if we were ranking the all-time college football good guys. Like that's what I always thought, is like Tebow's viewed as one of the guys that everybody loved. But he says maybe that's why so many dislike the man I like to refer to as the Swamp Hulk, because he is such a good guy and always unapologetically worn that title on his very large shoulders.
See, here's why I think Ryan McGee included Tim Tebow on here, because when somebody has a lot of success and wins a lot, there's a case to be made that Tim Tebow could have won 2 Heisman trophies, but maybe the voters got a little Tebow fatigue because he was so dominant, because he was so good, that's why he's on here. Think about Nick Saban. I was surprised Nick Saban wasn't at least mentioned.
Right.
Those dynasties, everybody hated Alabama because they won all the time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of guys on here who are like Tebow, I think, is listed just because he really was good, and maybe people didn't love the good guy religious side of him. Like maybe that rubbed people the wrong way, even if it made a lot of people big fans of him on the other side. Ryan McGee also writes, if you're wondering that perhaps I should have ranked him higher on this list, please keep in mind that I travel with Tim every weekend during the fall for SEC Nation. So I am surprised to see Tim Tebow on this list. I think a lot of people don't love him, but I don't know if I would say he's a top 10 supervillain of all time in college football, because I think the people who don't like him because he was such a good guy. I don't know if that puts you in villain status.
Well, some people view it as fake and not real, but I've had the opportunity to listen to Tim Tebow speak several times. I've actually met Tim, and it's authentic. It's real. If I were to rank a CFB all-time good guys list, he'd be number 1.
Sean says nobody likes a goody two-shoes. And so maybe that's what it was.
People love Fernando Mendoza.
Right. And they're a little different. Like Tebow's a little more fiery than Mendoza is. Like, I don't think Tebow would have been as goofy with the "we're flipping champs." 4312 does say Tim Tebow worst pep speech of all time. Might have busted out laughing in that huddle. I guess to each their own. Like, I'm sure in that moment that might have been what those guys needed to hear.
They won a national championship, did they not?
They did win the national championship after that.
You do what you want if you win.
Very true. Number 7 on this list, I was surprised Ryan McGee putting his employer on this list. ESPN, number 7 on the list of all-time villains in college football.
Okay. If I were to poll our audience and say who's hated more, ESPN or the NCAA, what do you think people would say?
Probably the NCAA.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the NCAA is listed as an honorable mention. We got
dishonorable.
Dishonorable mention. Yes. Pilgrim's Finest texted in asking how they weren't in the top 5. They are listed as a dishonorable mention. We'll get to the rest of those in just a little bit. But ESPN ranked at number 7. The opening line to this excerpt is, perhaps you've heard, but we hate your team, and it doesn't matter which team that is. We hate them all.
It's funny because Ryan McGee tells the story about how when he first got hired by ESPN, he wore like an ESPN polo or outerwear or something to a game at Tennessee.
And got rocks thrown at him. Had
a Crown Royale bottle thrown at him. And people forget that he went to school at Tennessee.
Yeah.
But yet, if you're wearing ESPN, every fan base in the country thinks that ESPN hates your team, which is true. ESPN does hate your team, regardless of who it is.
Well, all broadcasters hate your team. We've learned that, right? Like Joe Buck hates all. I believe that's Joe Buck's Twitter bio is, I hate your favorite team. And as somebody who does play-by-play and knows that if you're on a national broadcast or like a network broadcast, whether it's me calling SEC lacrosse or something at Vanderbilt or Joe Buck calling the World Series, you're supposed to be down the middle. So if both sides are saying that you hate their team and you're rooting against them, you're probably doing something right. But yeah, ESPN, I agree with you. Like, given the choice between NCAA and ESPN asking who college football fans don't like, the answer is 100% the NCAA.
I mean, the NCAA, I just always go back to that scene in The Blind Side when Michael Orr was getting interrogated and just like, I was on pins and needles.
They made them the villain in that movie.
Watching that scene, and then you fast forward to where we are today, and they can't enforce anything outside of suspending you for 2 games for paying for a $427 flight, which everybody in the country, even if you hate Tennessee, is united on that issue that he shouldn't be suspended. I'm shocked they didn't make the list.
Yeah, especially with them being included in the dishonorable mentions, meaning that Ryan McGee did think about them. I don't know how you don't put them on this list, but they are not on here. 9 is Deion Sanders. I think that one makes sense. I think he
had to be on here.
He played into the villain role, whether it was
he talked trash
as
at
a player at Florida State or what he's done since he got to Colorado.
Yeah.
Like
people hate Colorado because of him.
Right.
If you're on the outside.
I think Deion Sanders definitely deserves to be in that conversation. Number 10, I don't understand. Caleb Williams. Did people really dislike Caleb Williams that much when he was in college?
He's definitely more likable now, but I feel like people hated him because he painted his fingernails before the Pac-12 championship that one year that said F Utah. And then, crying to his mom after they lost, that sort of thing. But when I'm thinking of, I know he didn't spend his entire career at Oklahoma, but if I think about most hated quarterbacks that played at Oklahoma, my mind goes to Baker.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's ingrained in my mind is what he did on the sidelines versus Kansas and Lawrence.
Planting the flag at Ohio State.
I mean, people didn't like Baker.
Baker, I think, is certainly a bigger villain than Caleb Williams. And
I would 100% replace Caleb with Baker.
Well, he said, Ryan McGee says in this excerpt, there is no shortage of recent Heisman winners and contenders who could have taken this spot. See the dishonorable mentions list below with Misters Mayfield and Diego Pavia. I would put Pavia on here over Caleb Williams because this past season, he was the villain of college football, which I don't know. I think people hated him a little bit too much, and maybe we hear a lot more of it around here because Tennessee fans really, really didn't like him. But I probably would have put Pavia in this spot over Williams. You could have put Mayfield over both of them too, but I would have said both those guys should definitely have been there over Caleb Williams.
100%. I would have had there's a strong case for Pavia, a strong case, just given how he handled losing the Heisman Trophy to Fernando Mendoza. I would have had the NCAA in there, definitely would have taken Caleb Williams out, would have taken Tim Tebow out.
I would have taken ESPN out too.
And replace them with the NCAA, have Baker in there. You can put Pavia in there. Connor Stallions.
Yeah, Connor Stallions is mentioned here.
He's not completely innocent here. Like he definitely has.
I think definitely deserves to be in the conversation.
Especially among Auburn fans for golfing in the month of October.
Well, and for Tennessee fans listed in the dishonorable mentions, Phil Fulmer was listed, which I get it.
That's just primarily because of how quick things went downhill when he was the AD.
Right.
As a coach, I mean, Coach Peyton Manning was great. So,
well, that's for college football fans as a whole. I don't think they loved Phil Fulmer.
True.
The whole time.
I don't know. I might have included Charles Woodson as a dishonorable mention just because of the 97 Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other villains who aren't even mentioned here. Like they've got Jameis Winston in there, who
nobody hates him now.
Nobody hates it. Jameis Winston has, from college football villain to everybody's favorite backup quarterback in the NFL. But he was a villain with...
Stole some crab legs, right?
Some more serious off-the-field concerns as well from Jameis Winston. Yeah, people didn't like him very much when he was in college. So, I
love the Ryan Leaf mention on the dishonorable mentions.
Ryan Leaf. But you mentioned Nick Saban not being on here.
Yeah.
I think Saban deserves to be mentioned in this. How about... we're going to talk to Cory in 20 minutes here. Dabo Swinney. I think a lot of people really don't like Dabo Swinney.
That's a polarizing figure. Right
Brian Kelly.
Sure.
Brian Kelly, I think, deserves to be on this list.
Yeah.
I mean, not just because of the fakeness at LSU, but
he spat in the face of the people at Notre Dame. He basically took that LSU job because he didn't think he could win anymore at Notre Dame.
And again, more serious things happen while he was at Notre Dame as well that get brought up here and there. So yeah, there are a lot of villains out there that weren't mentioned on this list that I think probably deserve to be in there over some of the guys who were. But I do think it's a fun exercise to go through some of the most hated guys in college sports, and I do think they got the top couple right.
Is there anybody else that we could have included?
Let's see.
That's coming to your
just
mind
like
right away.
Recently.
I'm racking my brain too.
Like, it's not even really his fault, but like Reggie Bush obviously had some controversy, but I feel like Reggie Bush was mostly loved just because of the way he played the game. Who are some, like, maybe we can get to this on the other side. Who are some like all-time folk heroes from college football who you don't remember them from their NFL career, but you just look back and they are just revered because of what they did in college football? I've got one name.
Tavon Austin.
Tavon Austin was the first name that came to my mind. We'll see if there's any others that come to mind here. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Again, Cory Curtis going to join us to talk Titans coming up in a little over 15 minutes. We'll talk plenty of Titans throughout the rest of the show as we get ready for the preseason opener tomorrow. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Going through the biggest villains in college football history. And also had the conversation around, like, who are some of the biggest folk heroes of college football? But these can't be guys who are remembered as just, like, great players. Like, I think Tim Tebow probably would be in that conversation because he didn't do much at the NFL level. The first name we thought of was Tavon Austin, right? Like, everybody watches that highlight tape. I think we've played it 1,000 times on this show, the Tavon Austin highlights.
Probably play it coming back from the next break.
Yeah, well, Cory Curtis is going to join us coming up next. Again, with the travel schedules with the Titans on the road, a little different this week. So Cory going to join us for a segment coming up next during his layover on his way over to the West Coast. And I just got word TD is going to join us tomorrow from 11 to 11:30. So a couple of segments with TD as he gets right. The Pirate, like he is one of the great college football characters of all time. I said Coach O. I know Coach O has had his problems, but he has that like Jameis Winston arc of just like everybody loves him. He is a folk hero.
Yeah. nobody hates Coach O. I mean, he's back at LSU this year. It's great. I'm so happy he's back in the sport.
Yeah.
Mike Leach, though, the Pirate. I mean, he literally invented an offense.
Right. And just the interviews with Mike Leach and his press conferences were always gold. He deserves to be in this conversation.
One of my favorite stories of Mike Leach is him giving Alyssa Lang wedding advice.
Yeah.
Just telling her to elope post game. That was one of my favorite videos of the Pirate.
Mike Leach definitely in this conversation. I'm trying to think of any others. Again, and this can't be guys who were great college players who everybody loved and then went on to have great NFL careers. You have to remember them just for their time in college. I mean, like in terms of great moments, like Doug Flutie is remembered a lot because of the the Hail Mary with BC.
I have one. I'm not sure if he'd make the list, but what about Stetson Bennett? That's a pretty incredible story.
That's true. Walk on to 2-time national champion. Yeah, that problem. But was Stetson Bennett all that likable? Like
no, because he played at Georgia when Georgia was dominating, and people, had their opinions on that.
Right. It's a tough conversation because a lot of college players do end up being NFL players, and it's like you can't just separate the two careers. Ron mentions Jamarcus Russell. All-time college quarterback, obviously, at LSU, but didn't pan out in the NFL. We'll have to keep thinking about it. Maybe Cory will have some ideas for us. I did see they kind of parlayed off this article with the biggest villain for every college football team. Did you see this article,
No,
Parker?
I haven't seen that one.
All right. Who do you think the biggest villain of all time for Tennessee is?
Nico?
No. He was actually on the first list too. We talked to
Fulmer. Yeah. Fulmer.
No. Fulmer, biggest villain for Tennessee. I mean, I guess he did have his issues. But
is it like played or coached at Tennessee?
No. Like, who does that fan base hate the most? Could be anywhere.
I mean, there are several ways I could go on this.
I mean, I think there's two guys. They were both at the top of the list. Take your choice.
Is it Saban?
No, the top two lists on the all-time college football villains.
Lane.
It's Spurrier. They've got Spurrier as the number one.
Spurrier?
Yeah.
Really?
Spurrier, who grew up in Johnson City, Tennessee, delighted in tormenting the Vols.
Yeah. I think Spurrier felt like he should have been pursued harder by Tennessee to coach there, and he didn't feel like they pursued him enough, so that amplified the trash talk.
Yeah, and they mentioned you can't spell citrus without UT.
For
Vanderbilt, I do like this one. They say the biggest villain for Vandy, institutional apathy, which, like, to be fair, that was the issue for a long time.
Yeah.
And now that
they're finally starting to invest.
Right. Now you've got investment from the top down, from the chancellor to the athletic department. And it's I think that is a good point that the culture there wasn't invested in athletics for a long time. And now that it is, you're seeing the turnaround. I thought it was funny for my Hokies, the biggest villain, replay officials. And of course, most recently, people remember
Miami game?
Miami game, the Cam Ward Miami game, where Tech had the Hail Mary. They called it a touchdown on the field and then inexplicably overturned it to keep Miami undefeated in that game. But the one that Tech fans will always remember, and I'm not sure if you remember watching this, the Sugar Bowl in 2012, Virginia Tech versus Michigan. Logan Thomas hit Danny Cole in the end zone, and they ruled it a catch on the field, but overturned it, saying he didn't maintain control.
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer.
I like it. I think I'm trying to think of who else it would be.
See, the thing about Virginia Tech that some people our age don't remember, they were like at the top of college football
for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, they were national championship contenders, 15, 20 years ago.
If from 99 to like 2012, they did a 12-team playoff, Tech would have made the playoffs probably over half of those years.
But people our age, grew up with a very different Virginia Tech, and that's some of the struggle that James Franklin's having to deal with right now, is reminding people just how good Virginia Tech used to be.
Yeah, it's been a slow and constant decline for that program. Where I think Logan Thomas, that game was kind of the end of the era for them, and then Fuente came in and they were fine for a while and dropped off, and then
for a couple seasons,
and now you're down to a 3-win team last year. So James Franklin being tasked with digging it out, but they've gotten more investment. We talk about institutional apathy. Like, I think that the Tech has kind of kicked it into gear here now that James Franklin is in charge. So I don't know what my answer for the biggest villain for the Hokies would have been, but I thought replay officials was pretty funny.
No, that's good.
Spurrier for Tennessee, I get it. I guess for you probably hate Kiffin more, right? Than Spurrier, just because of the era you grew up in?
Yes. Yeah. No, I definitely, I would have Charles Woodson on there, at least mentioned.
Yeah.
I wasn't alive for that, but still, he did get robbed.
Right.
I watched the documentaries.
This is a good article. You've got a lot of Ole Miss, of course, it's Lane Kiffin already.
Who's it for Georgia?
Georgia is Steve Spurrier.
Oh,
he's
making the list for everybody.
He makes a lot of appearances
Alabama,
on this list.
who is it?
Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That the comeback, the comeback, as they call it, in the Iron Bowl. Is
this for all FBS teams?
All Power 4 teams.
All Power 4.
Yeah. And Notre Dame.
Who's the villain for Notre Dame?
USC.
Good.
Yeah. The Bush push.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Chiba Hut is now open in Clarksville. 1025 The Games. Chase and Big Joe will be out at the new Chiba Hut location in Clarksville, located at 419 Riverside Drive this Friday from noon to 3. Come experience legendary toasted subs, crave-worthy munchies, beer, wine, and sweet treats. Whether you're grabbing lunch, dinner, or meeting up with friends, they've got your next meal covered. Stop by Chiba Hut today and see what it's all about. We know our friend Trey is a fan of Chiba Hut. He met Diego Pavia there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Coming up next, Cory Curtis will join us live from the road from the airport as he gets ready to do sideline for the Titans preseason game tomorrow. We'll talk to him about the joint practice yesterday and what to expect from the Titans in the preseason opener tomorrow. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you, finishing up the second hour. It is a Wednesday, and he can't be with us in person, but we couldn't let a week go by without speaking with Cory Curtis from News 2. Cory joins us now on our phone lines. Cory, thanks for calling in. How's it going?
I'm great. I'm in Las Vegas at the airport, and of course, the first thing I saw when I walked off the plane was slot machines.
Oh, there you go. Are you gonna try your luck a little bit?
I love to gamble, but I'm not a slots player.
Gotcha.
That's garbage.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of skill involved there. So
I just can't do it.
Well, Cory, you'll be on the sidelines tomorrow for the Titans' first preseason game on News 2. You excited to get back out there and see what this team looks like for the first time in a live game setting?
Yeah, look, you want to see them against competition, other than themselves. You watch them in practice, and you think some things are better, but there's only one way to really find out. I mean, last year we went to Atlanta for the Titans scrimmage, and then practice, and then preseason game, and you were like, wow, they really stink. And so we learned a lot, and so hopefully we get a better showing this time. Yesterday sounds like it was a little feisty. Playing what should be a really good team. And so we'll see what they got.
It does seem like the 49ers got their work yesterday, and Kyle Shanahan said a lot of starters aren't going to play. Robert Saleh said the opposite, said everybody who's healthy is going to play. What are your thoughts on that strategy, that we're going to see a lot of the Titans first teamers playing mostly the backups for San Francisco tomorrow?
Yeah, look, this team's won 6 games in 2 years. They need all the work they can get. Robert Saleh's got to learn about his football team. He's got to learn who's a willing combatant and who's not. Who's going to excel when the lights come on. Because some guys are also a little bit different when the lights come on. And so I don't have a problem with it at all. I know some people will fear injuries. You can run from injuries, but they're going to find you eventually. So it's a dangerous game. So you go play football. I'm all for it. Andy Reid does it every year, and he seems to have done okay.
Talking to Cory Curtis of News 2, our good friend. Cory, I know you saw the reports yesterday about the Titans secondary allowing a lot of deep passes over their head. The way this solid defense is designed is to keep everything in front of them, but that didn't seem to be the case yesterday. Do you have any concerns about the secondary, but specifically, do you have any concerns about Amani Hooker?
I mean, look, Amani's been a good player. His play did drop off some last year, but I will fall back to the fact that he's been a good player for this team. Now, if it continues in camp and in preseason, then yeah. I mean, this is a new defense for him, and for virtually, anybody who didn't play for Saleh before. And so, part of the reason you do this is to get things exposed and to learn. And that's not making excuses, but that is all part of it. And that's why I say, where do we go from here? All right. Does that continue or does it not continue? Because if it continues, then maybe it is a physical performance aspect and not just a learning aspect. And that's what you got to find out in the next couple of weeks.
With the fighting and the feistiness, I get that it happens. And, I've been a part of practices that got heated. So I completely understand this is just part of the game. Does it seem like to you, though, that there are more fights with the Titans this preseason than there have been in the past, and really just around the NFL in general?
I mean, I don't know about the rest of the league, but I mean, look, Parker, you've been out to practice. The intensity is ramped up. I mean, you watch those defensive linemen, and they are geeked up by the time individual drills are over. I mean, Coach Whitecotton really gets those guys rolling. And, apparently Coach Priscillo had his offensive linemen ramped up for yesterday, and they were ready to go. And like, fighting is a waste of time for the most part, really, and especially when you throw a punch and you get kicked out of practice. But, what's been the number one beef with offensive linemen who have failed for the Titans, whether it be Andre Dillard or Nicholas Petit-Frere or Dennis Daly, is these guys haven't seemed like willing combatants. Okay. And if these guys, if they're overly aggressive, I'll take it, because they've had underly aggressive for the last few years. I mean, outside of Peter and some other guys, but they've had too many guys who weren't willing combatants. And it sounds like that tide has turned, and they've got some guys who are ready to rumble. And that's one of the things I really want to see tomorrow night.
We're joined by Cory Curtis from News 2 on his way out to Santa Clara for the Titans preseason opener tomorrow. Cory, speaking of the offensive line, I think through the first few weeks of camp, it's become clear center is Austin Schlottmann's job, but the right guard spot seems to have gotten a little murkier. Fernando Carmona starting to work in. What have your impressions been of that competition with Volson, Slater, Carmona all competing for one spot?
Yeah, I mean, they are giving all three of those guys an opportunity to work with the ones. And, you know, when you see Volson's contract, you know they would love one of the younger guys to beat him out, okay? So he is the starter until one of those two guys proves that they're better than he is. And I know, like, Carmona gets his chance this week, and everybody jumps on that. And I get it. He's the new guy. He went to Arkansas, and, you know, it's early. Let's see how he does in this game. The one thing I will say about him is willing combatant. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, you know, not backing down. You know, that doesn't say things for like knowing assignments and technique and hand placement and all that stuff. But if you're willing to fight, and by fight, I mean battle in there, that's a good start. And when I'm watching him at practice the other day, and he wins a rep in team against Jeff Simmons and then pushes him in the chest when the play is over, I'm like, that doesn't seem like the smartest thing in the world, but it also tells me he's not afraid. And so that is a good sign for him. He's one of the guys that I'll really want to watch tomorrow night and see how he does.
It seems, by all accounts, yesterday an up and down day for Cam Ward in the joint practice. But over the weekend, the big story was Ward and Tate, that connection starting to heat up. How exciting should that be that even if it's not every single day that you're seeing those guys connect for big plays, it is starting to become more consistent as camp rolls on?
Well, look, I mean, like we've talked about this. If Tate can be that guy for the Titans, it answers a question for you for a decade. And, you know, that and indications are he looks like that guy for them. I mean, he's making plays. You know, you go back to that scrimmage Friday night and, you know, everybody really happy with the offense and really happy with how Cam played, but guys made plays for him. Okay. You know, you have Tate make the one-handed grab running across the middle. You have Gunnar Helm go up over a defender and make the toe tap touchdown in the back of the end zone. If those two plays aren't made, if those two catches fall off their hands and we go, oh, that was a tough play, Cam Ward's night doesn't look near as good. Part of this position is having guys make plays for you. And so seeing those guys, including Carnell Tate, who seems to be able to do it regularly, is very encouraging for what this offense can do and for what Cam's productivity can be if these guys can make plays for him as well.
Last one for you, Cory. I wanted to ask about Pat Coogan because it seems like there's been, you know, Jackson Slater got some work at center yesterday. Andre James got some work at right guard. They're just trying out some different things. Do you think maybe that we hyped up Pat Coogan a little too early and that he's still getting acclimated to the NFL and things are kind of a little fast for him right now?
Well, I think we overhype every rookie, don't we? I mean, they're new, they're exciting, they're fresh. I mean, you know, Rose Bowl MVP, national champions. I mean, there's, you know, you get brought into all of that stuff. But you know, what was he, a 6th round pick?
Yep.
Yeah. And look, that doesn't mean he can't be a starter in this league. I mean, there's guys in the Hall of Fame who were never drafted at all. So, I mean, that doesn't mean he can't be a player. But they said from the jump at camp that they're going to look at a lot of people in a lot of places because they want to see how they stand up, you know, against the ones, against who are they a viable player at this spot. And the other thing that they've got to figure out in that whole center guard mess is who stays and who goes. And if you're Jackson Slater and you can play center and guard, that makes you a lot more valuable, right? You know, I've watched Andre James, who has started a lot of games in the NFL. And when I've seen him practices, I don't think he's too bad. I mean, I've been kind of impressed with what I've seen with him when I didn't know much about him. So, you know, they're trying to figure out, you know, do they need to keep a second center or like, is Slater good enough to be the second guard and the second center? I mean, it's all going to affect their numbers on who they keep.
Quickly before we let you go, Corey, we've talked a ton about the Peter Skoronski extension possibly coming down the line. It did come down on Friday. Your thoughts on the 4-year, $100 million extension that he got from the Titans?
Well, Jake, we've been talking about this for a couple months, right?
Yep.
And we were like, at first we were like 4 years, $80 million. Weren't we kind of in that? And then when we saw the contracts coming in, we're like, okay, it's probably going to be 100.
Yep.
And that's so it came in right about where we expected. The amazing thing to me is this: the first Titan since Hooker and Simmons to get a second contract, and that tells you why this team has won 6 games in the last 2 years. They just haven't drafted well enough. And so now they've got some other guys who look like they should be in line for second contracts. Hopefully Peter is the start of a trend of guys worth keeping around. It's a lot to pay a guard, but I always say you can't have enough good football players, right? And the Titans don't have many elite football players. And I don't know if we want to call Peter elite or not, but he's in the upper echelon of guards in this league.
Yep.
And they're not in a position to let him go. And if they weren't going to give him $100 million, you know what? Somebody else was. So I'm happy for Peter. He's been a good soldier. I mean, he has never said boo about anything, and he's just worked. And he's one of the few guys that's been here who has worked and just continued to get better every year. So it's a contract well earned.
Corey, we appreciate you taking some time. Travel safe the rest of the way out to Santa Clara, and we will be watching tomorrow night on News 2, Titans and 49ers to start the preseason.
That's right, 8 o'clock kick. We will see you there on News 2.
Perfect. Corey, we will talk to you next week. Appreciate you coming on.
See you, Connor.
Thanks, guys. Wow. Just call me Sarah.
There you go. Yeah, Parker throwing it back. Cory Curtis from News 2 joining us live from Las Vegas as he makes his way out to San Francisco. We'll react to what Corey had to say and continue to talk Titans as we start up hour number 3 after this. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game final hour on this Wednesday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Big thanks to Cory Curtis for joining us in the last segment. Couldn't join us in studio today. We miss Cory, but know that he's got to be out there as he's doing sideline for the Titans broadcast tomorrow. Titans and 49ers preseason opener tomorrow night, 8 o'clock kick on News 2. Talking with Cory there, I asked him about the decision from Robert Saleh to play the starters tomorrow. He said everybody who's healthy is playing. So you would expect no John Franklin Myers, no Jacob Martin, probably no Cordell Flott. But if you're saying everybody who's healthy is playing, that means Jeffrey Simmons going to be out there, which I would have thought would have been unlikely. Kyle Shanahan said he felt like his starters got the work in that they needed yesterday, and they probably won't play tomorrow night. So it's going to be the Titans starters against a lot of the 49ers backups. And Robert Saleh did say that he thinks the starters are going to play more than just one series. You think this is the right choice for the Titans, taking the experience, the game reps, over possibly playing it on the safer side and avoiding injury?
Kinda. I am surprised that Jeffrey Simmons is going to be playing tomorrow, but at the same time, they haven't brought anybody to the ground yet, and you don't want the first time that they're full on tackling to be week one.
Apparently the 49ers were bringing people to the ground yesterday.
True. But I mean, they're not supposed to technically, but I don't know. I'd want my guys to, like Cam Ward, I want him to get hit a little bit. Not a lot, but get hit a little bit so that the first time he doesn't get hit is an actual game. That's just kind of my thinking on it. But it doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah, and he was vague, right? Saleh said more than a series. I think Cam Ward said yesterday that he's excited to play multiple series and get into a rhythm out there. And I think there's a lot of value to that. I think there is value, especially with so many new pieces. You've got Carnell Tate and Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver. You've got a couple of new pieces on the offensive line too. I like the idea of having those guys gel and get into a rhythm out there, get into a groove in a game situation. But you remember back, we're gonna harken back a couple times in this final hour to that opener in Tampa last year. Tajay Spears got hurt on the opening drive, or maybe it was the second drive, little screen pass out to the left. He rolls his ankle. He's out for basically half the season. I understand injuries are a 100% certainty in the NFL, and they're going to happen. I think you've just got to be careful, especially with how physical the 49ers were yesterday in the joint practice. You really don't want to lose any key players, especially Cam Ward, obviously, or anybody on this offensive line, because you're already thin there as well.
And I could also play the contrarian and say, if the first time they're getting hit is in a game setting in week one, you're also setting them up to get injured. So there's no perfect way to do it.
Right.
They don't have to. They could play two series and be completely fine. They could play one series. I'd probably play the starters for two. But with this rotation, Jeffrey Simmons is probably just not going to be out there a lot naturally.
When he says everybody's going to play, I find it really hard to believe Jeffrey Simmons is going to be out there for 10 or 15 snaps tomorrow night. I bet he gets on the field, but they're going to be very careful with how they use him.
He could play 5 snaps.
If that, right? Like, run him out there for a series on third down, let him go get his hands on somebody, try and go get after the passer, and then pull him and put him in a baseball cap. Like, I do not need to see Simmons at all, but if you want everybody to play, I would say the leash needs to be super short on him. I've said it all week about the offense. I think it has to be a feel thing for Robert Saleh and Brian Daboll I think there's going to be a moment tomorrow night where you know that it's over and you got to pull him, whether it's good and Cam Ward and the offense are in a groove, which kind of should be playing against backups. If they can go down and score on the first drive and you've got some confidence and you got some rhythm, I don't need to see anymore. Take them out and make sure that you don't have any injuries. There also may be a point if things are not going well that you say, you know what, let's call it a day. Maybe they go out for 2 or 3 series in that situation. I do think it's a feel for Daboll and for Saleh, and they're going to know when the night is over for that first team offense in Cam Ward.
Yeah, because with Jeffrey Simmons, you'd think that maybe him and John Franklin Myers, because John Franklin Myers has been dealing with the back thing. Those are the two guys that you were not going to want out there really at all. So I wonder what their reps are going to look like. And two, the offensive line, since we're so concerned about them and they haven't really played next to each other a whole lot, you'd want them out there as much as possible, it seems like.
And I do wonder what the right guard situation looks like, because as we talked to Cory about, there are now 3 guys who are in the mix there at the very least. I don't know how seriously Fernando Carmona is being considered as the starting right guard, but he's getting reps. And so with 3 guys there, who's getting those opportunities in the preseason games to go out and play with the first team offensive line? I think Volson starts on the offensive line, but do you want to get Slater out there for a series? Do you want to get Carmona out there for a series? That all plays a role in this too. That maybe there's a chance too that you put Trubisky out there with the first team offensive line and let them get reps. It doesn't have to be a full unit in, a full unit out. You could see them mix and match. And if the offensive line needs more reps, they stay out there. If Cam Ward needs more reps, you're not keeping him out there with the backup offensive line. It's a square is a rectangle, but not all rectangles are squares. Cam Ward's not out there with the offensive line, but you can leave the offensive line out there for Mitch Trubisky. That's
a good point. They could do that.
There's a lot of moving parts here for Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh on how they want to maneuver with the offense tomorrow night.
That's absolutely that's not a bad idea at all. Having Mitch Trubisky, you can play Cam Ward a couple series, maybe keep the offensive line out there for a whole quarter. But, after those 2 series, all right, it's time for Mitch to come in. And Will Levis is going to get a lot of reps too. I wonder if Hendon Hooker is going to get any type of reps too.
So Robert Saleh said he's not, I believe he said not 100% making a promise, but he said all 4 quarterbacks are going to play. Maybe it's easier said than done, or maybe it's easier than I think it is in my mind, but Hendon Hooker is not getting team reps. If he's not doing it in practice, do you trust him to go out and do it in a game?
Well, I mean, it's preseason. There's very little on the line. The only team reps that he got were when Mitch Trubisky was out.
Right. So I don't know.
Which was one day.
Do you trust him to go out there and execute the offense late? Maybe they don't care in the fourth quarter and they're just like, hey, Hendon, go sling it. And see what happens.
Results really do not matter in preseason games.
Yeah, so. I guess, but are you going to be able to get everybody in the right situation, in the right spot? That's my main concern. It's less about Hendon playing. It's more about, and Hendon Hooker's a very smart guy. We've seen that during his time at Tennessee and throughout the NFL. I think he would be fine, and I think he probably does get all of those mental reps, but I do wonder how much we'll see him. I agree with you. I think it's going to be mostly Will Levis tomorrow night.
Will Levis is – I would imagine that, okay, Cam Ward gets a couple of series. Trubisky probably play most of the first half.
Yep.
I could see Will Levis coming in at the end of the second quarter and then play most of the third, half of the fourth, and then maybe Hendon Hooker getting that back half of the fourth.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way it works out, but we'll see. The first preseason game – I think a lot of it needs to be just, hey, make sure everybody stays healthy out there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Much more Titans talk to come in this final hour. We talked a lot about the offense in the first hour. I want to talk about the defense as well, because it did seem like they struggled against Brock Purdy and that 49ers offense yesterday. Robert Saleh had an explanation for it. I'm not 100% sure I'm buying it. We'll get to it next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley. Next man up, 1025 The Game.
out of this one feeling about your secondary? It seemed like they got behind you guys a couple of times there. Just rolling the scene on those.
There's a couple, and again, we're going to see whether it was a technique issue or not, but, overall just feeling it, this offense we went against today is one of the top 5 offenses in football. So there's a lot of back and forth in it, which was encouraging. You're not going to win every one-on-one, but at the same time, there's definitely things that we can learn from it.
Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. That was Robert Saleh yesterday talking about the defense's performance as we get some Tavon Austin vibes in here late in the show. The defense yesterday, lots of reports that they couldn't keep the top on it. Big plays over the top, struggled in the red zone. I want to say I saw Purdy went 21 for 27 with a bunch of touchdowns and no turnovers yesterday. It's practice. I'm not a huge practice stats guy, but overall seems like it was a tough day for the defense. And Robert Saleh in that press conference yesterday made a comment about why things went the way they did. And it wasn't that's a top 5 offense in the league, because I get it. It is a top 5 offense in the league. And there are going to be times where you're going to face better teams than you, better offenses than you, and you're going to struggle. It happens. But he said Kyle Shanahan knows everything about this defense. And I understand that. But does that worry you at all? There's a chance that you face the 49ers at some point down the road, like whether it's next year or I'm not going to get to the point where I'm going to say the Titans are in the Super Bowl, but there's going to be times where the other guy knows kind of what you like to do on defense. Does that mean you should be exposed every time? And also, shouldn't Robert Saleh know a lot of what Kyle Shanahan likes to do offensively? Again, this isn't a big concern of mine, but I saw that explanation and I was like, well, yeah, but he's a coach in this league. There are going to be coaches in this league who know your tendencies. Shouldn't you be able to counter that a little bit? I don't know, Parker. As our former quarterback, do you have any thoughts on Saleh saying, yeah, Shanahan knew this defense like the back of his hand, so of course he had a big day against it?
I heard him say that, and I couldn't believe that he said that. Saleh, is one of the better defensive minds in the NFL. And I thought, okay, well, Kyle Shanahan certainly, we talk about him and McVay as being the absolute best. They're coaching trees. We talk about, quarterbacks that are struggling, going to them to get their career back on the right path. So we all know what they are as offensive minds. But at the same time, too, if you're going to be this great defensive mind, I know Shanahan's one of the best at adjusting to what defenses do and masquerading things. But you should still know what his tendencies are. So I think it goes both ways, not just, Kyle Shanahan, right, he knows what we do on defense. Well, you should also know what he does on offense too.
Yeah, that was, again, it's not a major concern of mine, but I just thought that was a little bit strange Kyle Shanahan knows this defense. I'm like, well, you practice against him for years and years too. I feel like that should be a net zero.
Had 2 stints with him in San Francisco.
It should be a net zero of, yeah, I know a lot about you. You know a lot about me. We're going to know each other's tendencies. Let's see how it clashes. So I just thought that was a weird explanation for why the defense struggled yesterday.
He's seen how Shanahan has evolved throughout the years, because I know they played him when he was in New York as well. So think about all those years of, okay, this is what Shanahan does year after year. And I know that he changes his offense and changes certain things personnel wise, but you would think that somebody as smart as Saleh would be able to pick up on that.
Yeah. I just thought that was a strange explanation for it. Again, doesn't really mean much. You don't face Shanahan this year, but there are going to be coaches. Everybody's got film on you. Everybody kind of knows what your defense is going to look like. You should still be able to affect the quarterback and make some plays defensively, which it doesn't seem like the Titans defense did much of yesterday. I know Nick Suss with Robbie and Joe this morning talked about Amani Hooker and some of his struggles. I'm not concerned about Amani Hooker, and I still lean more towards his down year last year being more about not having any help around him. You had injuries everywhere in the secondary last year, and even the guys who were healthy weren't very good. And I do think Amani Hooker was left trying to plug too many holes, right? Like, you've only got 2 hands. You can only do so much with the supporting cast that they gave him defensively last year. I think he's going to be better this year, but yesterday it just seemed like there wasn't a whole lot of progress made there, and he was giving up plays over the top, which, as you said, Robert Saleh's defense, you want the attacking front and you want to keep a lid on the defense and not let the explosive plays happen. Yesterday, it was not super successful, and Amani Hooker, a large reason for that.
That's what Saleh said after the post blue and white scrimmage on Friday night. There weren't a lot of explosive plays down the field for the Titans offense. And Saleh was like, well, that's by design. Our defense doesn't give up anything behind us. And yet yesterday, it seems like everything was going over their head. And this is just something that I've been thinking about. And Amani Hooker, I heard Robbie talking about it this morning on Robbie and Rex Road. Amani Hooker wasn't great last year. I don't even think he was that good, if I'm being honest. And it sounds like he wasn't that good at practice yesterday. So there's a cynical side of me where I hope that this doesn't mean physical decline of Amani Hooker. Amani Hooker's not old, but he's got football age. So I hope that we're not seeing the physical decline of Amani Hooker in any way.
Amani Hooker has been in the league. This is now year 7 for him, year 8 for him. Now how
old is he?
He's only 28 years old.
So he's not super old, but I mean, he wasn't great, and he's had his share of injuries.
Yeah, last year, I mean, yeah, he has never played. Actually, so I forgot. Back in 16 games, he's played 2 16-game seasons his first 2 years in the league, where he wasn't really asked to do quite as much. He was a player for this team, but he was more of a role player who came in here and there. He only started 3 games his first 2 years in the league. Since he has been a starter every single game, he has never finished a complete season. He did play 16 games last year, so very close. But it was one of his worst years as a pro. Did he have any interceptions last year? No. Coming off of a 5 interception year in 2024 that got him the extension. He did not turn the ball over.
It was a good year for Amani Hooker, but he wasn't good last year. And I know, again, he's 28 years old, so that's not old, but all those injuries, they start to add up.
Yeah, this secondary, there's reasons for optimism for it, right? Amani Hooker has proven to be a good player in this league during his career, and he's still 28. Kevin Winston, there's a lot of excitement around him. You brought in 2 big-ticket cornerbacks in free agency, but I think there's also a reason for some skepticism, and we're going to find out pretty early what this secondary is made of. You get now the Jets. You got Geno Smith throwing them the football, which I've heard things out of Jets camp that he has not looked very good. But
he's going to save the Jets.
Yes, he is.
Aaron Glenn. He's going to lead them to the promised land.
He's going to be the savior for the Jets. And looking at their receiver depth chart, though, like you're going to see some tough matchups in week 1. Of course, Garrett Wilson is still there with the Jets, and he's been one of the best receivers in football given his quarterback talent since he's been drafted. A.D. Mitchell is there. He looked better after the trade over from Indianapolis. You got Omar Cooper, a first-round pick. So there's some talent there. And then week 2, Devontae Smith. You got Mekhi Lemon as a rookie. You got a ton of tight ends. So this secondary is going to be tested early on. I'm interested to see if the moves they made this offseason and the development of some of the young guys leads to a better group on the back end than we've seen. But obviously yesterday against the 49ers was not their best day. Brock Purdy seemed to be able to take whatever he wanted in the joint practice. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Still lots more to get to in our final couple of segments on this Wednesday. Preseason opener tomorrow. With all of this put together that we've talked about, I think we do need to remember one thing heading into the preseason opener tomorrow in San Francisco, because there are going to be overreactions one way or the other. Some of them may be valid, some of them not so much. We'll talk about it next. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. A couple more segments on this Wednesday. If you missed it, Cory Curtis did join us. He could not be in studio. He is traveling today, going to be on the sideline for the Titans preseason opener tomorrow against the 49ers. 8 o'clock kick on News 2, so you can tune in with him there. But he did join us for a segment at 10:45. Tomorrow, TD also on the road. He was out at joint practice yesterday. He's still on the West Coast for the preseason game. He will join us at 11 a.m. tomorrow for a couple of segments. So excited to have TD on to get ready for the preseason opener. Tomorrow is game day. And we've been talking about it with Robert Saleh saying everybody who's healthy is going to play. You're going to see the starters out there, and that includes Cam Ward. That includes the offensive line, likely includes Jeffrey Simmons. The only players that we know aren't healthy right now, and correct me if I'm missing anybody, Parker, John Franklin Myers, Jacob Martin, Cordell Flott, and Jackie Marshall are the only 4 that I believe were mentioned yesterday that are dealing with injuries.
Yes, that would be right.
I believe that's everybody. But Robert Saleh said, if you're healthy, you're going to be out there tomorrow night. So I do want to say, let's remember last year's opening drive against Tampa Bay. In that preseason game, Titans went right down the field. Cam Ward made a nice throw to Calvin Ridley. He had all the time in the world.
That was a nice throw to Calvin Ridley, too.
I remember that was our main takeaway, and this was probably a week into doing our show. So we overreacted a little bit. We're like, man, this offensive line, it looked good last night. That was the Bucs backups. They did not have the starters out there, and the 49ers are doing
no
the same.
Vita Vea out there.
Right. It was not their top line defensive line out there. It's not going to be the top guys for the 49ers out there on the defensive front. I think the expectation needs to be that the offensive line is going to be able to protect Cam Ward. Now, these guys are all getting paid. They're all professionals. The second string guys for the 49ers are still capable pass rushers. So it's not a disaster if Cam Ward is flustered here or there or gets sacked. But I think the expectation when your head coach expectation should be that the Titans' first stringers should dominate, or at the very least should look competent out there and be able to put points on the board.
Which means that we shouldn't overreact to like we were doing yesterday with the joint practice, because it is the backups. It isn't the starters. Fred Warner's not out there playing. Right. So you should look how you looked in the blue and white scrimmage. I'd say that would be, if you were able to accomplish that, then that's a good solid day.
And again, it's still preseason. I'm not saying sound the panic alarms if the Titans offense goes 3 and out on the first drive. They're working through some things, but I think that we including us and Titans fans, Titans media last year, I just remember coming out of the Tampa game and you're like, man, the offensive line was a question mark, but they looked really good. That was a strong pocket. I'm half expecting it to look the same tomorrow night, where Cam Ward has plenty of time to throw
like he had.
Right. Makes plays down the field. And we just got to remember, this is not the 49ers starting defense that's going to be out there. In fact, I mean, who knows how many of the 49ers players could even be out there if Kyle Shanahan wanted them to be. I mean, half that team's injured. So again, just it's preseason. I know Trey puts a lot of stock into the preseason. He told us earlier, these are the foundational games. This is what builds it for you. But Brian Callahan won more preseason games than he did regular season games.
That is such a I knew that, but that just hearing you say that is just sad.
He went 5-1 in the
so
preseason.
Sad.
4-19 in the regular season.
Oh my gosh. That's so sad.
There are going to be things that you can take from tomorrow night. And again, I think the expectation should be that the Titans first team offense and defense has some success, because you're playing backups. Like, you should have some success tomorrow. But I also think it's preseason. These are not where championships are won and lost. A lot of the takeaways that you're going to be able to make will be minor, if any, from tomorrow night's game against the 49ers.
Yeah, you're going to see lots of Romello Height tomorrow, lots of Bryson Eason, former Vol.
Yeah, Vol for life.
CJ West, I don't know. He's a starter, so he may not play a whole lot, or if at all. So yeah, lots of Romello height coming at you. And what Sammy O is?
Yeah, Sam O. He was on the Titans for a little bit there. Sam Okawanu, is that how you pronounce
good
it?
enough.
Something
Good enough.
like that. I think it was close. 4312 on the text line says the substation didn't take anyone out. It was a good practice. Yeah. No major injuries as far as we know. Knock on wood from practice yesterday. So you'll take that. You'll take that considering all the talk about the substation for heading into yesterday's joint practice. Jeff on the text line says, I'm not pulling for any backup quarterback, but how are we able to evaluate QB play when they are playing behind the backup tryouts for a bad O-line of starters? Well, they're playing third stringers too. So I think it's more, I'm assuming this is about Levis tomorrow. Like with Will Levis, it's more about the operation than it is the results. Is he making the right reads? If he's getting sacked because the offensive line can't hold up and he's getting instant pressure, well, that's not necessarily on Will Levis. But if he's throwing balls right in between the numbers of a defensive back, or if he's rolling out and slipping and then tossing the ball to a defensive lineman, that's when you'll have problems with Will Levis. I think you still can make an evaluation, even if it's backups on both sides of the football for Will Levis, and he can put something on film that could be intriguing to the rest of the league. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Cory Curtis just texted me, actually, Parker.
Saying what?
He said, I saw odds for the first college coach fired and Dabo wasn't on it. They're delusional. I mean,
I can't wait until Waffle House, Cory.
I see with Cory and his Dabo thing about him getting fired. It's possible. Like James Franklin and Brian Kelly probably weren't on those odds list at the beginning of last year. So it's very possible. But to act like he's on the hot seat and if they get off to an 0-2 start, he's out the door. Although Georgia Southern is their second game. So maybe an 0-2 start would be. But if they get off to a slow start, then he's out the door. I don't think that's the case.
As badly as I want to call Cory crazy, I can't, because last year, if we were to go back in the time machine, we're in the preseason. Penn State and LSU are both preseason national championship contenders. And I were to tell you that James Franklin and Brian Kelly would both be fired before Halloween, you would have called me crazy. But it happened. And so I'm not going to call Cory crazy. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Dabo Swinney could go 0-12 at Clemson next year, and his legacy is firmly established. A guy that went toe-to-toe with Nick Saban in his prime and beat him twice in the national championship.
Yep. No, Dabo's a great coach, and I don't think anybody can take that away from him. I do think eventually the leash will run out on him, and Clemson will pull the plug. I don't know if I just don't think it's this year. I don't think he's that close to being fired.
Yeah, I mean, think about how long, because Dabo Swinney is kind of similar to Mike Gundy in the way they don't want to adopt the new age of college football.
Yeah.
Not that they can't, they just refuse to do so. Think about how long Oklahoma State held on to Mike Gundy before they fired him.
Yeah.
A long
and he
time.
didn't win any national championships there.
No. Didn't even sniff the college football playoff in the 12-team era.
Cory did send me who the number one odds to be fired is. Do you know who it would be?
Norvell. It's got to be Norvell.
Yep, Mike Norvell is number one. Which did remind me, Fox NFL tweeted this out yesterday. The early NFL Coach of the Year odds. Robert Saleh tied for second
with
Jesse Minter.
Who was number one?
John Harbaugh. Which makes sense,
yeah.
The pedigree he has in going to the Giants. But yeah, Robert Saleh tied for second. There are a lot of first-year head coaches on here: Harbaugh, Minter, Saleh, Clint Kubiak. Also in the top 6, Kellen Moore, Ben Johnson, and Brian Schottenheimer.
The Bears are getting pretty injured right now.
Yeah,
they just lost
Kobe
Bryant.
Yeah,
or he's at least going to miss all of the regular season. They're hopeful to get him back for the playoffs. They've had a couple
other Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, other Kobe Bryant. Other Kobe Bryant. Yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We've got one more segment left with you on this Wednesday. We will wrap up the show coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up. 1025 The Game.
I want you to text Jake Lyman and tell him that Will Levis isn't going anywhere.
Now, why do you say that?
Because he hasn't been fully evaluated. He's had crap coaching for all of his years of him being here. Him and Borgonzi is basically from the same area, and he was probably the number one quarterback in that area when Borgonzi was a scout. Now he's on Borgonzi's team. Borgonzi, I'm sure everybody else in Titan Nation want to see him, succeed and do well, but they're not going to I don't think they're going to. It would be unrealistic for the Titans to get rid of Will Levis.
Wow. Chase texted me yesterday, and he did follow through on what Trey asked him to do. Text Jake Lyman, tell him that Will Levis is not going anywhere.
They're from the same area. Why?
Well, yeah, they're both from New England.
He was the number one quarterback in that area in high school.
You have to
get rid of that guy.
You have to keep him now. Trey, just constant entertainment. Love him or hate him, you listen. With Trey.
One of the biggest characters at this station's not even employed at this station.
I love Trey. The back and forth on all the quarterbacks is so strange. Like, he seemed relatively complimentary of Cam Ward today, saying they've got Cam Ward he's on the path. He's progressing. He's going to get the Titans to compete for the South this year, but you can't get rid of Will Levis. He hasn't been properly evaluated. He's been here for 3 years. Like, I just
seems proper to me. I know his future here is done. That's what I do know. Or else they wouldn't have drafted Cam Ward number 1 overall.
The Levis revisionist history, I think, is hilarious because I was on the Joe and Robbie call him the Cam Doos, whatever you want to cut. He wills heading into the 2024 season. I thought I saw a lot from Will Levis in 2023 that made you excited. But anybody who thinks he didn't get a fair shake did not watch him play in 2024. I mean, he lost that job multiple times. The Bengals game always stands out to me. And you can say that Callahan had a lot to do with it. And that's true, but it's tough. In this league, if you're not a high-end first-round pick and you don't live up to expectations and prove you're the guy, they're going to move on. And the Titans moved on with Cam Ward. Levis needs to go. I don't see, I said it yesterday with Connor and Nick, and Connor agreed with me. I haven't seen anything in practice that makes me think the Titans need to keep a third quarterback, right? Like, watching Will Levis, he's not making it difficult, right? Like, he's not making it hard for Mike Borgonzi, who grew up in the same area with him and was a scout when he was the number 1 quarterback in the area. He's not making it difficult for him to cut him. I think you hope that Will Levis, somebody is willing to give up something in a trade, and these preseason games are going to be important for him raising his stock. But I don't think you've seen anything in practice so far that makes you think the Titans are going to keep him as a third quarterback.
If anything, it's been more of the same. And there's legitimate talk about trading him so that you can get as much value, because, I mean, he's just going to be a free agent next year and you're not going to re-sign him.
Yeah, right. He's heading into an expiring deal. If you can get any kind of value for him, you take it. You take it and run.
Honestly, I mean, they could afford to keep 2 quarterbacks, but and maybe keep 1 on the practice squad just in case, as in the emergency.
I think Hooker probably ends up being the practice squad quarterback. I think somebody claims Levis. Like, I think if you cut Levis, somebody would claim him if it wouldn't cost them anything, right? People may not want to give up a draft pick, and I don't know that. We'll see. But I think if you cut Levis, he's gone. Like, he's not going to make it back to your practice squad.
Max, you get a 6th round for him. Max.
I agree.
7th's probably fair.
Based on what we're seeing right now, right? But, like, Levis, he's got 3 preseason games to go prove it. But me saying I think Hooker ends up on the practice squad doesn't mean I'd take Hooker over Levis. I heard that. I've heard that conversation from people saying Hooker's better than Levis. The league's telling you what they think of Hendon Hooker. so far.
That is true. Been a journeyman. Spent some time with the Jets last year.
Yeah, I mean, and he's fine. Like I like Hendon Hooker. I thought he was an okay prospect coming out, and again, I watched him at Virginia Tech. I don't think he ever had the God-given ability to be an NFL quarterback, and that's the difference between him and Levis. Is Levis has all of the traits that you want in a quarterback, and I think coaches might look at that and say, if we coach him upright, we can get something out of this. I think Hendon Hooker, you know his ceiling, you know what he can be. He's coachable, and you can get him to his max, but his max is not nearly as high as what Will Levis's ceiling is.
Yeah, Josh Heupel has the ability to work, get every last drop out of the sponge as possible with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And he did that with Hendon Hooker. And I mean, there's, talk that Josh Heupel's offense, which you run in college, doesn't translate to the NFL. I think we've seen that. Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker, guys like that. Dylan Gabriel played in his system at UCF.
Yeah, it doesn't translate as well as you'd like it to. And they made changes to make it a little bit more pro style, but yeah, you've seen Hendon Hooker was a good college quarterback, didn't translate to the NFL level. 9355 says, so if we see significant decline out of Ward through the season, how long do they continue to evaluate him? I mean, if he's getting worse throughout the season, I think you might have a conversation coming up this offseason. Like that,
sure.
That is how fast things happen. And if Cam Ward, you're not seeing progress and he doesn't look good and you have another 3 or 4 win season, like, yeah, I think there's a conversation. Now, I don't know if that means you're drafting a quarterback next year. I think it would be more of a bring somebody in to compete with him, which
kind of like the Vikings did, bringing in like Kyler Murray.
And when you do that, you're kind of telling on yourself a little bit of if you're willing to do that, the ship might have already sailed. But I think that being a first overall pick, unless you're seeing, as the texter says, significant decline out of Ward, Cam's going to get a longer leash than Will Levis because you picked him first overall, right? Like that.
If that happens, I'd see year 3 being the make or break, like we've talked about.
I think if you are a second round quarterback, you're going to get 2 years to prove yourself. And Will Levis he didn't play all of those games in 2 years, but he got 20 starts to prove himself, and he wasn't good enough. So they moved on. I do think when you're picked as high as Cam Ward is, a lot of people's jobs are depending on Cam Ward being successful, including the guy who would be making the decision of what happens with the quarterback in Mike Borgonzi. He's going to get a long leash unless it's just a complete disaster. And I don't expect it to be a complete disaster this year. I think he's going to be better. The question is, how much better will Cam Ward be? And tomorrow night, it'll be good to see him out there. Good to see him out there with the offensive line, getting a first look at this Titans team in a game atmosphere. But again, as we talked about in the last segment, Parker, you are facing backups. So the expectation should be that the Titans are successful when the first team is out there, because they are playing the second team and some of the third team, some of these guys who are going to be further down the roster for the 49ers to start the game.
Yeah, you should look good. I think a good baseline would be offensive production, what it was in the blue and white scrimmage. If you look like that, I'll leave feeling good.
Yeah, I agree. I think you want to see a couple of plays made. You'd love to see Carnell Tate get involved in the offense early on. Cam Ward and him continuing to develop that connection. And I'll say, I think Wan'Dale Robinson probably is going to be used early on. Brian Dable's going to script this drive to start out. I think that they're going to try and get some quick hitters for Cam Ward just to get him in a little bit of a rhythm early on in this game tomorrow night against the Buccaneers. I cannot believe it. It's game day tomorrow. For the first time since that fateful day in January where the Titans played in Jacksonville. And what a game that was. Tomorrow is game day. The Titans and the 49ers, 8:00 kick out there in Santa Clara at Levi's Stadium. And we will have coverage all day today, all day tomorrow, getting you ready for that game, continuing to prepare for the Titans preseason opener. And again, tomorrow on the show, TD can't do the full show. He's out there in California. He'll be covering the game live from Santa Clara, but he is going to join us for a couple of segments at 11 a.m. So looking forward to that. Parker and I will talk a lot of Titans, a lot of NFL, not just the Titans playing tomorrow. We'll get to see Fernando Mendoza in action for the first time in an NFL uniform tomorrow too. So we'll preview some of the other games going on around the league. But that does it for us. Keep it right here. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.